Yo, what's up? I'm Dr. Def. I'm one of the Sample Kings, and my man O's behind the camera. Check it out. You just acquired our MPC60 1 and 2 videotape. This instructional tape is designed to put you through an entire program of sampling the sound, then editing the sound, get rid of the beginning that we don't want, and the end we don't want, and get the exact sample size we want. Also, how to take that same sound, put it in sequences with other sounds, like bass drums, snare drums, hi-hats, maybe a vocal sound, maybe a bass line, so you can make up a fat track at home or in the studio. We're going to show you how the entire system works. Also, how you can use your MPC with MIDI to play a keyboard part, let's say, on a keyboard, and then have the MPC60 pick up what you just played and play it right back for you, along with your samples in your track. A total MIDI production center. And it even runs in sync. That's right, it has SMPTE and FSK. But check it out. This is MPC60 number 2. This was made, obviously, after 1. Right here, this is number 1. I'm going to pull this out for you a little bit. As you can see, we got a little pull up here. A little different. Flatter surface, and that's pretty much it. This one has an earphone jack. They both have disk drives built in. We're also going to explain to you how you can use your disk drive to save, load samples, and the format of your system. So look, let's get busy. I'm going to check you in a few, but you know the deal. We're the Sample Kings, and nobody does it better. Ha ha. Hey, oh, let's get this thing on, man. Come on, I got a fat day tonight. This is the front of our MPC60 number 2. This is the stereo mix volume. We have our minimum to maximum. This is for our stereo out and our mix out. Here, this is our contrast knob. Our contrast knob helps us to look at our LED display right here, so we can contrast it to look at it from different angles, giving us a better view. Now below, here we have our drum section. Here we have 16 pads. As you can see, they've already been numbered. There are names put right above each pad. For example, hi-hat, snare, snare 2, bass drum, tom, 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 ride, ride, crash, crash, percussion from 13 to 16. Now these correspond sometimes with, I guess, where you might want to place your instruments so you'll know where they are. I generally just ignore them and put my drum sounds wherever I want to put them at to help me. Now next to our drum pad section, right here to the left, we have 4 white buttons. The top one is the full level key. The full level key defeats the variable dynamics of the drum pads, causing all drum pads to play at full dynamic level, regardless of how hard or soft you hit the pad. That means when the light's on, we have full level. When the light is off, we can strike the pad, and it depends on how hard we strike it, the amount of level that comes out. The next key we have, right below our full level key, is the 16 levels key. Now this key has 2 functions, but only one may be used at a time. It may be used to play a single drum at 16 fixed dynamic levels using the 16 pads. Or it may be used to play a single drum sound at 16 fixed tunings using the 16 pads. Now, to select which of the functions that you want to use, press the sound keys. It says sounds right below soft key 4. Go to option 8, press 8. And the following screen comes up. Now get your cursor, Move the cursor all the way down to the bottom where it says function of 16 levels. Now we can turn our gray knob, and we're going to have the 16 levels. We can either go tunings or volumes, as you can see right there. If we set the volumes, we can hit one single drum sound, and that one drum sound will have 16 different volumes. Or if we turn to tuning, that one drum sound will have 16 different tunings. Now, to use the 16 levels key, play the pad of the drum you want to use. Press the 16 levels key. The light will go on, indicating the feature is active. Now, the drum you played in step 1 will sound when any of the pads are played, but at the 16 fixed dynamic levels, or if you activated tuning at one of the 16 different tuning levels. To turn this feature off, just press 16 levels key again, and the light will go off. Next, we have our Bank 2 key. Now, the MPC60 may contain as many as 32 different drum sounds in memory at one time. Yet, we've only got 16 drum pads on our front panel. Now, this button is used to select between Bank 1, the first 16, from hi-hat through to percussion 4, and Bank 2, the second 16 drums, which is from drum 1 to drum 16. Normally, Bank 1 is active. To activate Bank 2, press Bank 2 and the light will go on to indicate Bank 2 is active. To return to Bank 1, press Bank 2 again, the light will go out. Next, we have our after key. Now we have a slider below that also. The slider controls the decay time of any notes played on the hi-hat pad. Similar to how a foot pedal on a real hi-hat controls the decay time. Now here's how it works. 1, if a hi-hat is played while the slider is in the 1/3 of its range, a closed hi-hat sample is played. If a hi-hat is played while the slider is in the mid-third of its range, a medium open hi-hat is played. And if the hi-hat is played while the slider is in the upper third of its range, an open hi-hat sample is played. Now this all happens when there's a hi-hat in your machine on that first pad marked hi-hat 1. And that's where the control is. Next to our drum pads, we have our data entry section. We have our numbers from 0 to 9, a period, and enter. To change the data in a field, move the cursor to it and type in the new number using the numeric keypad, followed by enter. For example, to change to sequence number 2, move the cursor to the sequence field, type 2, press enter. Notice the sequence name now automatically changes to 2. Now, another use of the numeric keypad is to select from a list of options. For example, press the disk key. That'll cause us to see the screen here, save load. If we press 1, we can save a sequence. We can press 2, save all sequences and songs, and so on. Now, another way that we can enter information is through our data control knob. While the cursor is in a data field, if the data control knob is rotated one step to the right, as you turn the knob, you can feel the steps, the on-screen number will increment by 1. If the data control knob is rotated one step to the left, the on-screen number will decrement to 1. Continuously turning the data control knob will repeat increments or decrement the on-screen value. It is not necessary to press enter after turning the data control knob. Now, right above our data control knob, we have our plus and minus keys. Pressing the plus key has the same effect as turning the data control knob, one step to the right. Pressing the minus key has the same effect also, by turning it one step to the left. Now, our data control knob can be also used for other options. For example, press the other key and move the cursor to the rate field, which is a choice field. Now turn your data control, and notice that with each step of the control, a different preset option appears. Next, below our data control, we have our real-time section. As you can see, we have space, add, capital A, K small a. With these three buttons below, where it says erase, timing correct, and tap tempo, we can erase, timing correction, which is like quantizing, and we can tap a tempo in, and the machine will remember that tempo and give us the tempo we may want our song or sequence at. And space plus capital A and A are ways that we can add information in when we're naming a particular sound or sequence or song. Next, to the right of our data entry, we have our command section. As you can see here, we have a bunch of keys, 20 to be exact. We have our soft key, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have our help button, which is very useful. You can always press help, and information will come up there to help you to understand how to use the particular section that you're in. We have disc, tempo, drum mix, sounds, song mode, edit, step edit, edit loop, MIDI, other, wait for key, auto punch. We have a cursor movement, up, transpose, second sequence, count in, our cursors again, to the left, down, to the right, main screen. These 20 commands are used for us to access information and options in our MPC60. Below that, we have our play and record section and our fast forward and rewind. Now, as you can see, right below play, we have these double arrows going to the left, then a single arrow. Then we have locate, then a single arrow going to the right, and a double arrow going to the right. This section is used to fast forward and rewind through, let's say, sections, or even to fast forward and rewind when going through steps. And we'll show you this later on. Below that, we have our record, the red button, overdub, another red button, stop, play, and play start. As you can see, my machine's been used a lot. The stop you can barely see, which is right here, and we have our play start. Okay, now, we're going to show you the back of the machine. Here we are at the back. Now, the first thing we see here on the left is our power input. Take our power cable supply with our machine. We plug it right in here. Okay. Next, on the back of our MPC60, we see our power. Turn the power switch to the on position. There you go. Now, next to that, we have a bunch of inserts, including MIDI inputs and outputs, and quarter-inch inputs. Now, starting here, first we have our foot switch. You can use these foot switches to trigger if you have a foot switch. Next to that, we have metronome. This is a metro out. This gives us a tempo out, like a click, 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 which gives us the timing, which I love to use when trying to get a sample in time or to get a feel on how I think the sequence or song tempo should be. Next to our metronome out, we have our sync out and sync in. And next to that, we have a level, which is a knob we turn to get our minimum or maximum level of our sync in or sync out. Now we use our sync in and sync out. The out is used to send a signal out to tape to record a syncing signal, which could be FSK or SMPTE. And the sync in is used to receive the signal we recorded. So the MPC60 will receive that sync signal, and that signal will tell the machine when to start by setting your timing. This will be explained later. Now below this section we have our MIDI out and MIDI in. We have MIDI out A, B, C, D. Now each out is 16. You have 16 MIDI channels we can go out from. So 4 times 16 is 64. We have a potential 64 MIDI channels to go out to. Next to our MIDI out, we have our MIDI in. We have 2 MIDI ins, 1 and 2, where information can come into our machine and we can record this MIDI information into our sequencer section. Now next to this section, to the right, we have our assignable mix outs. We have 8 of them, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is great. We can assign each sample to a single output. This is very useful when going to a recording studio, and let's say you want to record 24 tracks, or you want to have each sample on a separate track. So later on in the mix, you can always EQ it to the way you want to do it. Now, above that, we have, for example, right here, our record in. This is our record in input. We can use for recording our samples, let's say from a microphone, from a record player, from a CD, or a cassette tape. And we have the gain here, where we go from high, medium, to low. Next to our record in, we have our return in. That's left and right. Used for, like, let's say an echo device, or even an oral exciter. We can add some sort of echo to our system. And a level for that right next to it, we're minimum and maximum, which is used for our mix out. Next to that, we have our stereo out, left and right. Now, while plugging up our machine, and you're at home now using it, you can use your mix out, or you can use your stereo out, left and right. And you can plug them into an amplifier or mixer so you can start to hear what we're about to do. Let's get started. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Back again, huh? Look, you just learned about the front of your machine. How to use our buttons, what's on our pads, our data entry, and also record, overdub, stop, play, the usual stuff. Now, hook up the back of your machine the way we just showed you. Get your power plug in there. Now once you get a cable, a 1/4-inch cable, that goes into, of course, as you saw before, our record in. We're going to use that to take a sample and adjust our volume from mid, low, or high. And get ready to take a real clean sample. Clean your record off. Once you want some dirt on it, leave the crackling part. We'll get a lot of that if you want to keep it. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? Now check it out. We're going to get that one sample, and we're going to make it sound as clear as possible, but just show you how to use your threshold level and how to get everything accurate. So every time you take a sample, you understand how to adjust your sound to get as much input or as little input into the machine as possible. Let's get busy. Because we're the sample kings and nobody does it better. That was pretty good, huh, baby? I'm going to be a star one day. I'm going to be in comedy, man. I'm going to be large, you know? I got the routine. I'm going to be big. And you hang with me, I'll put you in my next video. You got a nice body. Okay, let's start sampling. Now, to access the screen used for sampling new sounds, press the Sounds key, which is right below our soft key 4. Then press 1 to select the Sample New Sound option. Now, as you can see, at this point, you must decide which drum pad you want to sample into. Because once you press the Proceed button, all the sequence memory will be erased to provide for maximum space for the new sample. Now, if you have a sequence in your machine that you want to keep and use, you need to save it to disk. And this will be explained in our disk section, which means you just press disk, press 1, and you'll be able to save the memory of the sequence that you want to save. Let's continue on. So let's press Proceed. And the main sampling screen will appear. All sampling is done while the screen is showing. A description of screen fields and soft keys follow. Here we go. We have our drum field. Now this is the field where we have selected the drum pad where our sample is to go to. Next, we have the name field. Now, this is where the new name of our sample is to be placed. We'd move our cursor there to where it says Sound, and there'll be 3 numbers behind that. We'll turn our data control knob either once to the left or once to the right. A dash below the letter Sound will appear. You can now use our keypad in our command section to name the sample. As you can see, below each name of every key is a letter. And you can press whatever letters you need to name your sample to be whatever that should be. And you press Enter to keep that name. Next, we'll have the length field. Now, this field is used to specify the total recording time to be allocated to the new sample in seconds. When this screen is entered, the value displayed here is always the maximum amount of sound memory available to you. Now, even though the MPC60 has a maximum of 13.1 seconds of sampling time and is expandable to 26.2, if you need more memory, contact us. We can get memory to you as soon as possible. The maximum for each sound is 5 seconds. Therefore, even if we have 13 seconds of sound and memory available, the amount of sampling time for any one pad will be only 5 seconds. That's it. Next, we have the pre-record milliseconds field. Now, this field is used to specify a short duration of time which will be recorded before the record threshold is exceeded, so that the attack will not be truncated. Since this adds time to the beginning of the sample, it will cause the sound to be slightly delayed when played. To trim the start of the sample, use the Edit Sound option from the Initial Sounds menu screen. A good value for this field is 2 milliseconds. Next, we have the Hear Input field. Now, the signal from the sampling input is normally heard equally at the left and right stereo outputs, but only if this field is set to on. If it is set to off, the sampling input is not heard at the stereo outputs of your MPC60. As simple as that. Let's go to the next field, Fade Out. There is an envelope generator for each voice, which is used to gradually decay the voice before it comes to its end. This field sets the amount of time over which that decay takes place. Since the decay will always end exactly at the end of the recording, this setting actually sets the position within the sound at which the decay will begin. The record level. This controls a 99 level digital volume control for the sampling input. There is also a 3-position switch on the rear of the panel to select from 3 volume ranges, as we saw earlier, from low, mid, to high. Next we have is our threshold field. This sets the threshold above which recording will begin once soft key 2, ready, has been pressed. Range is 0 to 99 to full. A good setting to start with is 5%. Next, we have our meter field. This is a simulation of an analog record level meter. While this screen is present, the meter is constantly displaying the level of the signal coming in at the input for our record in. The threshold setting, which we talked about earlier, is represented by a T. If the range is exceeded way past that, you'll see a double exclamation mark. And this will indicate that we have clipping. We need to turn the sound down a little bit to get the proper volume. Next, we have our soft key, which is our playback. Soft key 1. Pressing soft key 1 causes the sound, just sampled, to be played back. Soft key 2 is our ready key. Pressing this soft key commands the MPC60 to begin recording as soon as a threshold is exceeded. When ready is pressed, the lower 2 lines change to the following. As the 7th line states, the record light will come on to indicate the threshold has been exceeded and recording is now in progress. Once the recording is complete, the previous 2 lower lines are redisplayed. If the cancel soft key is pressed during this time, the record ready status is canceled and the previous 2 lower lines are redisplayed. Okay, we know how the sampling works, and we've explained each field in our Taking a New Sample section. Now, we're going to actually take a sample from a record or a cassette or a CD, and we're going to record it, and we're going to play it back. Let's get busy. Yo, what's up? What's up? We're doing a little live shot right now. We're really going to explain to you, and you're going to watch us take a sample. I've loaded my CD player up, which is right up over here, and I've got a little beat ready on roll. Let me hear this beat back one real quick. Yeah, I like that. I like that beat. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get ready to sample it. Now, first we start off with main screen. As you can see here, we have the main screen up. Okay. Next, we need to press the sounds button. Great. Now we got a sounds key up. We're looking here, I think we're going to take a sample. So we'll take a new sample. Sample, new sound. That means press 1. Press 1. Excellent. Now I want to record on the pad here, percussion 1. So I'm going to turn my cursor. So I'll read percussion 1. Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Now, this says all sequence memory and the existing drum sound for the drum to be sampled into will be erased. Are you sure you want to proceed? Well, my machine is pretty much clean, so I want to proceed. But if you're trying to sample something and you got a sequence in after you take your first sample, let's say you got a bunch of samples in, you got a sequence in, and you want to take a new sample, save your sequence. Let me say this one more time for those of you out there who can't hear. Save your sequence. Otherwise, when you press this proceed button, your sequence is going forever, and you'll be one mad sampler. All right, now here we go. Press proceed. Now, as you can see there, we've got our record sample section. Now, all we want to do here is we want to set our threshold level to about 5. Let's do that. Okay, and for purposes of sampling very quickly, this is going to be great because it's going to pick up the sound immediately when it comes out. Let me test my sample out here and get it right. See, that's our level we're trying to get. Nice level like that, a little bit past that T there. As you can see, it's flowing. Let me try this again. I like that beat too, it's kind of fat. Okay, now, as you can see, those arrows keep climbing up, and that gives us the level where we're going to be at. I like to have my arrows almost maybe 3/4 full, and I always keep my actual input at about 65 to 75, and adjust that along with my input from the back of the machine, which is our record in. So what we're going to do is we're going to sample that sound. Now, when we press the sample button is the ready button. When you press ready, it comes up and the 7th line reads that record light is on when we're sampling. Here we go. Okay, now it's loading the sample into the sound memory. Okay, excellent. Now, what I'm going to do now is press the playback button. Right there. Okay, cool. Now, notice I had a little bit slower there. Now, here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to actually proceed back to main screen and hit my pad, percussion 1. Another feature with this machine you just saw, I can hit the machine once. That's the sound. I hit it twice, it echoes. Be careful of that. Hit your sample. Try to get the right speed you want it. See that? Right on time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's cool. Now, what we're going to do next? I got a tempo. If I press this main screen here, and I hit this tap tempo, I'm going to get somewhere near or right on the tempo of the beat. Now I'll hit the beat and tap it at the same time. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And that's the tempo I want to be at. Okay, next what we're going to do, we're going to take the sample we have now and we're going to edit it. But first what we're going to do is show you how the entire editing principle works with the machine. Get ready, take those notes, because here we go. Ooh. We've just finished sampling our sound. We've got our samples. You saw how we can sample it really great. Next thing we got to do, we have to edit the sample. We have to do a couple of things. Like one, we're going to have a good sample, but maybe we don't want what's in the front. Maybe we want to take a little bit off the back. Cut it up and take this piece right here. And it fits right over there. Back of that beat over there, and against the hi-hat, and the 808's over here, and then we got a horn going in it, you know what I'm saying? We gotta make it lock up. But first, we have to edit our samples. Fine-tune them, get the tuning right. You may want to change the pitch of the sample to fit the track. Also, you may want to have the sample fade out in the beginning. You may want to have a slow attack in the beginning. We can do all these things in our edit section. Plus, set it up in our mixer. So when we hear our sound, it'll have a certain level we want to have in the mix. Now, keep taking those notes, study your machine, and use the disc that we gave you. It goes right along with our tutorial section here. Hey, that's a big word, huh? I know them kind of words. I used to go to college. What do you mean what school I went to? Hey, look, anyway, look, I'll see you in a few. You know the deal. We're the Sample Kings, and I ain't gonna tell you, you know that deal. What do you mean telling me this stuff here in the middle of a taping? Now that we've sampled our sounds, the next thing we'd like to do is to edit our existing sound. To edit a drum sound, press the Sounds key. Then type in 2 to select the Edit a Sound option. This screen will appear. This is the first of 2 screens, which together present for editing all parameters associated with each of the existing drum sounds. The fields and soft keys are 1. The drum field. This field is used to select the drum pad which contains the sound to be edited. And all other fields display the data for this particular drum. Next, name field. In this field, we can have up to 16 character names of the sound currently residing in the display drum. This may be changed in the same way as naming a sample. Next, we have the double play section. This feature allows you to assign one drum sound to automatically play another drum pad whenever the first one plays. Also, they allow a velocity switch feature. Depending on the note velocity, one of 2 different sounds may play. And here we have 3 fields of double play. The first of which is the Also Plays field. This is a field of choice. You can choose any one of the 32 drum sounds, or you can choose none. Normally, this field is set to none, which defeats the double play feature. The next field we have is velocity switch and if over fields. Now, the velocity switch is a choice field with 2 options, on and off. If set to off, the drum in the Also Play field will always play when the drum in the play field is played. If set to on, either the drum's assigned sound or the drum in the Also Plays field will play, depending on the incoming velocity. If it is less than or equal to the value in the if over field, only the drum's normally assigned sound plays. If greater than the value in the if over field, only the drum in the Also Plays field will play. Now, this feature is real hip. What I use it for sometimes is, let's say, I might want to make a snare drum sound fuller. I'll have the first sample I have for my first snare, and my second snare I'll put in the Also Plays field and cue that up. And when they hit the same time, I just hit one, my original snare, and the second snare plays along with it, making my snare sound fatter. I could even use stereo sampling playback, where I can take, let's say, my snare coming out the right, and then take my other snare coming out the left, and sample those 2 snares, then combining them by putting one in the Also Plays field. We can also make up a chorusing effect for our drums. Chorusing can be a very useful effect, let's say for a ride and a crash cymbal. I'll put my crash as the original sound and the ride to play whenever the crash is hit in the also plays field, and maybe even tune that ride down a little bit. Experiment and watch how it works. The next we have below our double play field is our data field. First we have the volume field. This is the initial volume for the sound, which affects all outputs. It also serves as a convenient way to mix the assignable mix outputs and a way to adjust the relative volume of, let's say, 3 hi-hat samples. Next we have the tuning field. This is an initial tuning setting for the sound. This setting is added to the setting in the tune drum screen and the new tune field in the step edit screen. Next, we have the start field. This is the address within the sound at which play starts. Adjustable in 1 millisecond increments. Increasing this value will start the sound later into the sample, but will not delete the unused beginning of the sound from memory. Next, we have the end field. This is the same as the start field, except it represents the end. Decreasing this value will cause the sample to stop playing sooner, but will not delete the unused end of the sound from memory also. Next we have soft key 1. Normally, the start and end settings are saved, with each sound independent of the actual start and the end address of the sample, allowing these unused ends to be used again later. The disadvantage of this feature is that these unused ends use extra memory. So what we normally do, we try to find the beginning and the end we don't want, and then cut those off. This will help you save on sample time. Now the first thing you would do is you would press cut off, and this screen would appear. Press execute to delete the unused portion of the sound before or after the end. Press cancel to cancel. Next, we have soft key 2, which is reverse. This function allows a sound to be reversed in memory, front to back. Pressing this soft key causes the following screen to be displayed. Pressing execute will cause the sound to be reversed, front to back. When complete, the previous screen is redisplayed. This is not an irreversible operation. If you decide that you do not like the reverse sound, you can re-reverse it back to the original sound. Next, we have soft key 3. This soft key allows you to delete the currently displayed sound from memory. Pressing this soft key causes the following screen to appear. Press execute causes the sound to be deleted from memory. To cancel this function, press cancel. Very simple. Soft key 4. This soft key changes the screen to display the second page of parameters, which control envelope and velocity parameters, the drum and name fields, and the 4 soft keys are the same as in page 1. First, in this field we have the attack field. This field controls the amount of time over which the sound will rise from silence to each note's velocity level, measured in milliseconds. The fade out milliseconds field. This field sets the amount of time over which the sound fades down to silence at its end, measured in milliseconds. This is different than common initial decay or release envelope parameters, since the decay will always end exactly at the end of the sample. This setting actually sets the position within the sound at which the decay will begin. Next, we have our velocity start in milliseconds. This field allows the incoming note velocity to modulate the start address of the sound. This is very useful for simulating dynamics on drums, because a drum sound played from a position after its start sounds very much like a drum played softly. Next, we have a velocity attack in milliseconds. This field allows the incoming note velocity to modulate the attack time of the sound. This is very useful for simulating dynamics again on drums, because a drum played with a soft attack time sounds very much like a drum played softly. Next, we have our velocity volume field from 0 to 100. This field allows the incoming note velocity to modulate the volume level of the sound. A maximum setting of 100 is normal and produces full control of volume by the incoming note velocity setting. Next, we want to tune the drums. To tune the drums, press the sound keys. Then type 3 to select the Tune Drums option. The following screen will appear. This screen is used to adjust the tuning of any of the drums, as you can see, from percussion 1 to bass in the Tune Drums field. Next to each drum sound is the range, which is from -20, 1 octave down, to +60, 1/2 octave up. You can adjust the pitch of each drum to the desired pitch you want, or you can set it to 0, which would be the normal pitch at which the sample was taken. Next, below that we have our mode. This mode field, when set to sequence, each of the 99 sequences has its own set of tuning settings, which is saved when the sequence is saved to disk. When turned to master, in addition to the sequence tuning described earlier, there is also a single set of master tunings, which are not stored within any one sequence and apply to all sequences. If master is selected here, this single master set of tuning is used. It is better to use master mode if you prefer the tuning to always stay where you last set them, even after changing sequences. This set of tuning is stored to the disk when a set file is saved to disk. Next, we have the soft key 1. All equals 0. Pressing this soft key resets all tunings to 0. Very simple. Next, we have assigning mix out. Press sounds. Key in 5 is our option, and the following page will appear. Here we have assignable mix outs. You can send the output of each drum pad to a specific output in the back of your machine. This is very useful when going to a studio, and you want to have, let's say, 8 samples on 8 separate tracks, so you can further EQ each sample individually. To assign a drum to one of the outputs, move the cursor to the field of the desired drum and enter a number from 1 through 8 to select output 1 through 8, or 0 if no assignment is desired for that drum. If the bank 2 light is on, the second bank of drums are displayed. Okay, let's apply what we know and edit a sample. Yo, what's up, what's up, what's up? I'm the Dr. Def, and we got here my man. He's called the Wizard O. Say hi, Wiz.
Hey, what's up?
Yo.
Coming to you from the danger room.
You know the deal. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to give you a live shot of how to edit the sample we just took. O's going to take over and rock the house.
Okay. The first thing that you want to do to edit your sample is hit the sounds button, which is under soft key 4. you'll get a screen that says sounds, and you get a whole list of options. You want to pick number 2, edit sound. Okay, now you get a screen that says edit a sound. And the sound that we want to edit is our drum beat, which we took, which is about 3.5 milliseconds.
Right.
That's on perk 1.
Right, perk 1.
So I have to tab over to the drum fill, where my cursor is blinking right now, and set that to perk 1.
Uh-huh.
Now if I hit perk 1, you'll hear the beat.
But you want to get rid of some of the beginning, right?
Okay, we have too much beginning because we didn't get the sample
Yeah.
right at the top of the beat. So what I usually do is look at the length of my sample, and right now we have 0 as the starting point, and the ending point is 3500. I'm going to narrow that down to like 0 to 600.
Now he's moving the cursor down now to the end point, and he's changing that to his desired number.
Okay, I just placed 600 on the end parameter, and I'm going to hit the perk 1 key again so that you hear what we have.
Did that
Okay.
cut the end of it off?
No, the end is still there, we're just not playing it.
Oh.
It's still in memory, but we're only playing that section of the sound.
Uh-huh.
Okay. As you can see, we still have that beginning in there. We want to get that second bass drum to be our first one. So I'm going to cut it down to about 150. So now the beginning of our beat is starting at 150 and is ending on 600. Let's see what we have. That's pretty good. It could be a little bit better. I'll try 175. That sounds pretty good.
That sounds
Now,
like it's on it.
I'm going to try to find the end. Now, usually when I loop a beat, I've been noticing that if it's 1 bar long, the sample is usually less than 300 milliseconds. 3,000 milliseconds to correct myself.
So you're saying 1 bar is about 3,000 milliseconds.
About that.
Okay.
So I'm going to put this to
At an average tempo, I guess, between
I
maybe
get-
90 and 100.
about 2,800.
2,800 is your endpoint?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I'm going to play the perk 1 key again. You notice I have a little overlap, so that means that 2,800 is too big. So I need to make it smaller. I'm going to try 2,600.
And the reason why you're doing this is so you can get the exact beginning and end of the sample, right?
That's correct.
So I gather at some point you're going to want to cut off the beginning and the end, and then have the complete sample you want to use, saving sample time at the same time.
That's right.
You can continue on. That's pretty good.
Okay, so now our starting point is 175, and our ending point is 2,600. Let's see what that sounds like. It's a little short, so what I'm going to do is add like 150 to it and try 2,750.
Very good, very good. Okay, so that's it then. That's the beginning and the end we need to have.
Okay, and that's a good point to start from. We won't really know until we make our sequence, and then we can do our fine tuning, and whatever we don't want, we cut off the ends.
Okay, that's real good, though. All right, well, hey, we're going to see you again in the next section. Practice your editing. You saw it. Later. We don't worry about it. I mean, if they could see you now, I'd have props. Yo, check it out. What's up? You know, I'm a Dr. Def, and we're back again. Okay. You just edit the sample, you put your tuning in, you add your mix, fade, mix, whatever you want to add to each track, or whatever each sample, whatever. Look, now's the time to get busy. Hook up those sequences. Make up tracks that are super fat. Put the 808, the bass drum there, the snare drum here, pat, 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 hi-hat. Put the sample loop here. Yo, put them horns over there. I want an organ in the background. And for the chorus, I want to put this fat vocal track. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. It's time to get busy. Make up sequences. We're going to make up sequences and lock them together and show you how to make them up. Then, we're going to go to song form. All right? Now, but first we're doing sequences. And in this section, we're going to show you how to use the MIDI. How to play a keyboard, of course a MIDI keyboard, have the information go from the keyboard into your MPC, and then have your MPC send it back out to it and make it play perfect every time. It's fat and it's all that. Hey, that was cool. I was around, baby. She liked it, you know what I'm saying? But look, I got to go back, take care of this thing over here. You know, I'm going to make her a star soon. You're going to hear her. She's going to be real big, real big. But otherwise, continue with the tape, and I'll see you later. That was pretty good, right? I'm going to be a star, baby. You know how I feel. You know, I feel like I got the flavor. You know, it could be in your hair. What do you mean ear? Oh, yeah, ear. Yo, what's up? What's up? Of course, I'm the Dr. Def. I'm back again. What's up? Yeah. Okay, here we're going to do right now, we're going to explain to you how the sequence works. Now, when I press my end screen, as you can see, I'm here at sequence 11. Now, on top it says play record. That is not a field. That is a title of this section of our MPC60. But the first field we have is our sequence field, which is right over here. And it's sequence, as you can see, 11. Below that we have T-sig, which represents the time signature, which we have at 4-4. Next to T-sig, 4-4, we have bars, which mean the amount of bars we have in a particular sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 bar. Okay? So if you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 2 bars, 8 beats, and so on. Okay? Right here, we have tempo. And tempo represents the speed of our particular sequence in terms of beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4 are 4 beats for 1 bar. And that's how many beats went by. If we have enough beats, 100 beats a minute, we have 25 bars. You can figure that out. Now, below that we have loop. Loop 2, bar 1. This means when we get to the last bar in this particular sequence, it'll go back to bar 1 and start all over again. You can always change the number if you'd like to, but I don't see no reason why. Maybe you'll come up with something fat to do. Let me know. Below this we have our track data. Now, the first thing we have here is our track. Now, in each sequence, you can have 99 tracks. And in our MPC60, we can have 99 different sequences. That's cool. Now, below our track information here, we have volume. And our default is set to 100 on all sequences. And you can always raise or lower that accordingly to how you want to keep the sound of your particular sample or drum sounds or whatever in your mix. Now, in the middle here we have our program. Program sends program information to a MIDI device, for example a keyboard, and tell it which sound I want to use. Like, let's say Dr. Dre has a beat in here and he wants to use a little keyboard sound. He gets his boy to play the keyboard. Well, he knows what sound he wants by putting that sound's program number here, so whenever he wants to, it'll tell the machine to play that program, that particular sound. Now over here we have our MIDI field. As you can see, it's channel 16A, drums. This is our automatic default setting when we turn our machine on. That means that these drum pads will only activate when I'm in 16A drums. Otherwise, if I hit the pads, we won't hear them in any particular channel.
What does the A stand for?
The A stands for, it's a good question. That was all saying, what does the A stand for? The A stands for output A. We have 4 MIDI outs, as you saw in the beginning of our tape, where we showed you the back of the machine. We have A, B, C, and D. Meaning we have 16 MIDI channels in A, B, C, and D. We have a total of 64 possible MIDI channels out from our MPC60. Dope. That is so slamming. When you start getting busy with it, you can run an entire studio with this one machine. It's slamming. All right. Next, we have now. Now is 001, first beat, first measure. This represents our empty space, or where we are in a particular song from where the song begins and ends. And this is in terms of SMPTE. SMPTE is Standard Motion Picture Technicians Engineers Code. And it's used to measure the amount of minutes and seconds in a particular track, or with film. Below this we have soft key, which is track on. Our soft key means we can turn the track on or off, as you just saw. Or we can solve that track on or off. Or we can go here and turn our tempo to our sequence tempo or to a mass tempo, which we have in our tempo field, which would be our tempo sync. And here we have 4, which is sort tracks. This means that we can make a different arrangement of which tracks come first and what order they come in. Now, you can experiment with everything on the machine. What we're going to show you right now is how to loop. Okay, I got a sequence here, as you can see. Nothing's on this sequence. Now what I want to do, I'm going to take this beat that O hooked up for us. See, I want to know what tempo that is. I don't know. This here is called a tap repeat button. This button right here does your tap repeat stuff. It's very important. I'm going to hit this beat. Okay, I hit the beat. And I get the tempo I want. Now right here I have it at 86.6. Now, that's the tempo I feel this beat is at. Now I'm going to go right here to, let's say, my step edit. First measure, first beat. I'm going to put, you saw that? It just went in there. I hit it, and that particular sound, perk 1 is right there. I'm going to go here to my fast forward button. It took me to the second beat, first step. I put it in again, because I know that beat is only 1 bar long. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and go back to main screen. Now I'm going to press play. As you can see, we're looped. We're in there. And we're rocking the house. Very simple, huh? Oh?
That's right.
Okay, look. We're going to go away for a second, sorry about that, and set up our next shot. It's going to show you even more what you can do with the MPC. See you in a minute. That's pretty fat. I like that. Let's get a baseline sample some of this shit. This is great. Cool. Yo, what's up? Here we are once again. Now, I just showed you how to loop it. Now check it out. I already have labeled this particular sequence the demo sequence. I've named my sequence. The first track is called my beat track. I made a bass line. I took several samples while you were away. That bass line, little guitar, little horny, cool horn, bass drum, 808, little vocal, yeah, my homies, little hi-hat, little snare drum, and that's it. So as you can see, I've got 4, 4 is 8, 2 more, 10 samples. I'm going to make the track kick the way you've been hearing it through the whole tape. Watch very carefully. That's the first track, the beat track. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I'm getting the quantize right. I'm going to be in my off. I'm going to move my quantization. For me, I like to have my quantize here at 16. The quantize, I press my 16. My timing correct here. As you can see, our timing correct comes on. I want to be at 16 beats. 16 beats, you know. 16 notes. Now here we go. I'm going to record this. Notice the metronome's on. I like that. That's in the whole track. Put it on. Now you can see I have 8 bars here. This is already done already. Just for your purposes, I'm doing it over so you can idea what's going on. I just turned that track on, the bass line came on. We're 8 bars. We're looping back to bar 1. Very important. I'll be out there in a minute. Okay, here we go. Now, my next track I label is my guitar, which is right here. I'm gonna turn it on. Now the sax here, I don't want to use that yet. Here I have my vocals. So that, they're already in, I'm just hitting on top of it. Now the next thing we have here is our drums. Now to hear my drums right, I'll just turn my vocal track off. I'll turn off this guitar, the bass line. I'm going back to the drum. You see what I'm doing right here in my tracks. I'll turn my drums on, I already have. See, that's what makes it real funky. I added a beat behind that beat. Let me show you this here. That's real cool. You know what I'm saying? Now watch, I put the beat in again. And that beat is only on track 6, and it's on. I'm gonna add my other elements in here, including the vocals, sax, no, turn the sax off. Let's go to guitar, and back to the bass line. That's 8 bars. I have other things wrong in my sequence. There's other elements, including snare. And we can change that to being a swing if I want to. All the samples are running at the same time, they're organized, and in this one particular sequence. Now to make sure my timing's right sometimes, I'll press the other button. I want to hear my tempo of my click track, my metronome. I always use my metronome and lock my beats up to my metronome to make sure I'm locked in totally. I want my tracks to be perfect. So every artist in the world wants to work with me because I am the doctor and I've got a vicious reputation. You know what I'm saying? I make sure my tracks are always tight for any client I ever work with. So doing your tracks, do the same. And they'll appreciate you for that. Yo, I'm out of here. I'll be back in a second. I'm going to show you how we can work the keyboard with this sequence. Later. Haha. Okay, here we are. We're in the back of our machine. Our MPC60 is right here. And right here we have a Casio keyboard. What I want to do is sync up this machine with the keyboard. In order for us to play this keyboard and to let this machine record it, we need to use and utilize our MIDI ports here and here. This is the MIDI in on our MPC60, 1 and 2. Here we have our MIDI out, 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 outputs on our MPC60 correspond to our sync track, rather our sequence track, where we have our sequences in, and we saw earlier where I had shown you how I had my sequences lined up. What I did, the drums are always on 16A drums. That means MIDI channel 16 out of port A. A represents 1, B represents 2, C represents 3, and D represents 4. Now, I have a MIDI in here on my Casio and a MIDI out. I'm going to take one of my MIDI cables. Let me try my gray one right here. This is cool. That's the out of my Casio. I'm going to the in of my MPC. Okay, now, out to in. That means what I play in here will go out through this cable into here. Once it's recorded inside the MPC60, I get a cable here. I want to pull this out of here. Out to in of here. This way, once I've recorded it in here, in my MPC60, I can now press my play button and it'll come out here, back into my Casio, and play it back. And all I got to do is press record and play. And I'm into it. Now, I was going to explain to you about using sync.
We have here an Alesis HR16 drum machine. Sometimes it is necessary to hook up another drum machine to your MPC because maybe you filled up the memory of your MPC with a lot of samples. What you want to do is go to the back of your HR16 and use your MIDI out of the MPC into the MIDI in of the HR16. What you want to do is hook it up the same way that the Casio is hooked up, and depending on the out that you have, either A, B, C, or D, go to the front of your MPC, press sync, and tell it send MIDI out to whichever port you're connected to. In our case, we would probably use B, since that's the next available MIDI out. Once you do that, and you press play start on the front of your MPC, your drum machine will start and be in perfect sync with your MPC. It's very simple.
And that was excellent. That's something a lot of people don't know that we do. We love the MPC, but I myself may use an SP1200, my stuff. I love how fat the drum sound on that and lock it with my loops on my MPC. And that's a very unique way to get really fat tracks. Okay, we're going to get busy right now. What I'm going to do right now, we're going to fade out of here. I'm going to set up to show you how I can record the keyboard parts in and out of the MPC60. Yo, let's get busy.
Okay, the Wizard O is back again.
Yo, Doc's still here.
Okay, we've been talking about MIDI. Let me tell you what it is. It stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And that's what makes this bad boy here talk to this keyboard here. The first thing that we want to do when sequencing with our external MIDI keyboard is to pick a MIDI channel. So I'm going to set my MIDI channel field to 1A. As you remember, Doc showed you how to hook up the Casio to the back of the MPC and to use port A. I'm going to play an old school classic with my CZ101. Here we go.
That's fat, man. Yeah.
Now sometimes the Wizard O doesn't always sample.
Yeah.
I get down and I play stuff too.
That's how you MIDI it up, boys. Anger.
Nothing could be simpler. Remember you saw it here with the Sample Kings.
All right. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's going to be fat. Yo, what's up? I'm back. This is the next to the last talk. This one, of course, is about song form. We did everything else. We got a sample, we edited it, we put in a sequence. Now let's take some sequences and put them, in a track. Like, the one with just the bass line. Then we add the drums. Then we had the sequence with the drums and the guitar and the bass line. Then we come back to one quick mix down on one chart. You know how it goes. And this is real hard. We take one and put it here, sequence there. We can delete, we can insert a sequence. We can go to the previous step or the backward step. Hey, this is too easy. If you can't learn it, go to your mother's house and ask her to show you how to do it. I know you know I'm crazy, but I'm a Dr. Death. Hey, they call me right now. Hey, I'll see you later. Hey, oh, bring the camera out so you know I'm... Hey, what's up? Okay, yo, here we go. We're gonna do song form. This is so easy. Watch. I press song mode. I've already made my sequences up. My first sequence I got here is what it says 1. I don't want that. I'm at step 1. See the flashing cursor there? I move here. I want 2 to be my first sequence. I turn the sorrow up. I'm here. It says demo again. I want this to say 5. Let's make it 6. That's what I want to be. Is 5. Now I want to add 5 again. Instead of putting 5 in again, I just press insert. And now 5 is step 4. Now step 5. I can make this a 1. That's 1. This one here. I'll make this a 6. Step 6 is 6, sequence 6. If I want to, I put my cursor over here, I can repeat this sequence a number of times. That's 2 times. That's 3 times. I go to the top there, I can roll it back to 1. That's my song form. I'm going to press play, start. That's the first step. Sequence 2. Now with a sequence 6, second step. That's 4 bars. That's sequence. The bass line came in. The bass line was part of sequence 5. And there it is, 4 bars. You're going to receive the same sequence. Well, you've already got it. I'm not saying you're going to receive it. You got it. It's there in your hands. Play with it. This is our demo disc. And now I went to 1. And this is 8 bars. It's going to play 1 time. It's step 5. And that's step 6, sequence 6. But this is going to play 3 times because I put in the repeat section here 3. It's going to play 3 times. Okay, I just stopped it. That was very simple. As you saw, I can insert a step. I can even delete the step. See the step here? I'm going to delete this. This is my delete button, soft key, delete. That step's gone. Now it's a new ending song. I can go here. Let's say I want to move to the next step. I want to move down to this step right here.
What's soft key that was?
That was soft key 2, that deletes. I can insert 5 again. If I press this soft key here, it's going to insert another 5 right after this 5. That's an insert. I press this one here. This takes me -1 step. That's soft key 3. I go here, soft key 4, right here. This is going to plus a step, so I can look at which step I want to look at. I might want to edit. You see the steps roll by there. Very simple, to the point. Yo, we're going to do the diss section now. Later. Yo, what's up? We're the Sample Kings back again, and we're going to show you how to work the disc section of your machine. This is very simple. You must save everything you do. You have to save when you take a sample, take one, save it. You never know when someone's going to pull a plug out, a power failure. You could be in California, earthquake, you lose a fat beat. Always save no matter what you do. Okay, no more of this reprimanding stuff. Here we go. You press the disc button. It gives you 8 options. From saving song to saving song sequence, saving a sound, saving all sounds, save parameters, load, erase, rename, format the disc, copy a disc. Here's what I want you to do. You press 7 first. You put a new disc in there. One of these jammies like this. See that? That's a 3.5. Slide up in there. Wow, amazing. Press 7, pow. It says format. Press the button, format the disc. You got that? Okay, once the disc is formatted, you want to save the sequences. You want to save all your sequences in your songs? You press 2. One sequence, you press 1. It'll save one particular sequence. Got that? Amazing. Now, check it out. You want to load something, you press 6, it'll load whatever you want. But after you format your disc, the first thing you do is save your parameters. So you press disc, you go to 5, and you press save to disc, save your parameters. Because that way, if you go to someone else's house or someone's studio and you pop a disc in and you wonder why it's not working, well, if you got the same parameters you had at your house, it'll load those right into his MPC60 and you're getting busy. Look, it's simpler than that. If it ain't any simpler, I want you to get your mommy out the kitchen, bring her into your studio and ask her to read this to you or press your help sign right here. It'll hook it up for you. Otherwise, I'm going to see you later. I expect you to get fat, get large, big tracks, and of course, we're the sample kings, and nobody does it better. Later, y'all. Yeah.